Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, whoever you are and wherever you are. Hi, everyone. Yeah, today is the if I'm not mistaken, today is 29th of March 2025. It's a Saturday. I actually recently just got back from a long overseas trip for a wonderful overseas trip. Actually, it's not for for a bit holiday and so forth. Just a little small trip side personally. And yeah, just got back today, and I mean recently and before I left, I got a note, so I kind of make in a short uh, clip or a short video on the note that I just received before I left. So managed to do one and then save it and then release it in a much more appropriate timing close to today. And today I'm just able to do a video, a bit longer video, concerning the note that I just got, which is the Canadian banknote. That I recently got it. Now, anyway, a bit sidetrack note. It's kind of depressing. In a couple of days, probably on Tuesday, United States will have full blown activating its so-called global 25% tariffs imports. If that happens, I believe the economy at that next week, starting Tuesday, will have a driven situation. For East Asia, would probably be on Wednesday morning to have full effect, since most of this activation will start commencing on American time of Tuesday morning, which literally in Asia is Tuesday night. So stocks market and so forth will be closed during the night and will be reopened on Wednesday morning. By then, probably my expectation is precious metals such as silver and gold, specifically gold, would kind of will be shooting up to the stars. I would say right now is holding around a gram of gold worth probably around $100 at this moment. I'm probably predicting it will go to 150 or at most by end of the year. The gold price will continue to go up due if the status quo remains as it is, which is, when I say status quo, is that the Donald Trump's policies would move in as full scale operation. The taxes, the tariffs, the cutting off the budget to the departments and so forth, yada etc. As you all heard in CNN News, Fox News, whatever news you heard, America is probably in the plunge in that situation. Now, even in that situation, if you are investing in something, I think gold at the moment probably will be the best deal, and ideally to store your wealth. As for me, another asset that I have is just, well, banknotes. I buy old banknotes, preserve its value when dollars goes in a bit more haywire and so forth. Uh, Commodities like my collection would tend to go up in value to recuperate the price. But of course, the more straightforward black and white, of course, is precious metal. Sooner or later, the complexity of using a gold and silver, the precious metal, to directly trade in US dollar would probably diminish if BRICS and the secondary world order like China, Russia, Iran, India, South Africa, the BRIC countries, are moving towards using their own currency as a alternative to trade. This move was surely detrimental to U.S. strength and influence use of the dollar across the world. We all know that all our precious metal, including our black gold, oil, is pegged to trade using US dollar. US dollar is the king of the currency of the world. We trade with US dollar as its currency face for each commodities. For a country in the BRICS to propose dump the US dollar and to use their own country's currency as the value de facto would detriment the US dollar's influence. How effective it is, we do not know, and how greatly extends it probably within this time frame of the 100 years. We might see some detrimental changes, but of course, it starts now. The buck starts here on the Donald Trump's presidency. Other good news, probably I would say good news, is there's special election in America, or in other words, is by-election. Some members have just passed away. Some members has been promoted to work in the federal side, White House, working as a U.S. ambassador or even the cabinets. If they hold a public office like the House of Representatives or Senator, they must relinquish those seats. And we've seen some have relinquished, went through elections, and when going through the elections, we see that they lost. And most of their seats, very, very surprisingly, are hardcore seats. They are Republican stronghold seats where Donald Trump, in the last year's November election, they have a huge swing of nearly 30% towards Trump or to the Republican Party. And recently, a lot of these seats they are considered safe. That is why the purpose that they are picked to move on to another project or promotion, and to abandon and resign from this commission as the House of Representatives or as a senator, yada yada yada. When they go through the election, surprisingly, like one example, like the Pennsylvania Senate election, they, for the first time, a Republican stronghold seat was lost to a Democrat. To be honest, most of them are still loyal to the Republican Party. Those voters are still loyal to the Republican Party, but they have a desire to voice out. And the only way, a channel that they can voice out, is through election as a sign of protest. So when it comes to, if Donald Trump able to realize this and try to do in favor and to complete the success of their term that satisfy the voters' needs, Donald Trump, if can, and his Republican Party could become the next government of the next term in 2026, and also in the coming next election in 2028. 2026 is the House of Representatives, and in 2028 will be the entire House of Representatives, Senate, half of the Senate, and the most important, the presidency seat of power. So today we see things that is very full-blown chaos, and I hope that would suck in, and we would need to proceed how to preserve our wealth, especially we are talking about hobbies like such as our my numismatic collections and so forth, and some gold that I buy. So keeping it now is the reason why we buy gold, is to endure the situation, political situation and economic situation that is going to happen. This is the best time. So yeah. So after coming back, let's go start the main item. I've got this note from a dealer that I have known for quite a number of years, but I didn't buy a lot of his stuff, to be honest, because a lot of it he has is mostly are a local currency rather than international, as you can see. And if you have seen and watched my video, my New Year resolution this year, my objective for 2025 is to focus on China, Republic of China, People's Republic of China, as my priority. My second priority will be Japan, which I almost completed. It's post Second World War, pre Second World War defeat before 1946. There are a lot of it I have yet to collect, but the thing is, they are very, very rare and they are very, very expensive. So I do not have the capital to mount it to even purchase, to buy out, or bid out the other collectors or buyers. So that's one of the reasons that I changed my strategy to move priority one is the Republic and People's Republic of China. So, and number three, of course, is United States as a to not say it's prioritized low or high of the United States collection of currencies that I'm attempting to collect is that a lot of the notes in America are brilliantly I liked, but that is the reason why I want to collect it, but they're brilliantly expensive. Being a world superpower in continuity, especially banknotes that are printed the same system of government, the same type of policies and politics, it retains its value significantly. Unless it's a new government, the old government collapsed, then the old governments or defunct of their banknotes issuance, and they are much more cheaper. I won't say worthless, but they are cheaper to buy for collection because it doesn't have any more face value. But the United States, even though it's printed 100 years ago, it still maintains its face value. Plus, of course, inflation and so forth, etc. That makes the note even more expensive. That is what the price of the note for the United States is the one quite a drawback for me to even attempt to put it as a collection priority. It just goes on and off. If I have the opportunity, I'll look through it, I'll noodle it, and if I want it and I need it, then I'll purchase it with a right price, of course. So, saying that, it doesn't mean that I don't collect other countries' banknote, and this is one reason why I want to say. Now, I don't collect Canadian dollars. Very rare. Only on and off if I see something good and opportunity like this one, which you notice that the arrow is pointing is on her, the late Queen Elizabeth's hair at the back. If you're Canadian, collector, you know what that means. So yeah, this banknote is a Canadian banknote printed in 1954, and it's one of the objective of notes that I feel that I want to collect all the denomination, same signature, but Betty and if I'm not mistaken, this is Kane, if I'm not mistaken, on the second signature. I want to collect from the $1. I wanted to collect this one from $1 to $1,000. Yes, this is one of my small mission or objective to collect this. Now I have this one as a devil's head. You can see at the back of the hair. If you look overall the hair at the back, it looks like a face of a devil with a horn. So that is why this one, they call it the Devil's Head series. And after subsequently they printed in the same year 1954, they transition and modify the hair so it doesn't have this uh, devil's head look-alike on the hair. Now this was done because the government received complaints from its own citizens, Canadian citizens, stating about this. The hair of her Queen, Her Majesty the Queen Elizabeth, it looks like there's a face there, like a devil. It looks like a devil. And those days, people were much more religiously tolerant. They are much more religious, I would say. And thinking of it, it's very difficult for them to spend the money or even hold the money with something like this, which they call it, there is a devil's head on the money. So at that time, uh, kind of people were refusing to use the money, and they were vastly complained to the Bank of Canada and also to the government. And immediately in 1954, they, of course, is printed a later stage of 1954, but I believe they have heard it like 1 or 2 years back before 54, like probably 52 or 53. They started to modify it. Now modification doesn't mean it takes 1 year to modify it. Definitely I believe it take about at least a 24 months process to engrave, to get approval, to redesign if there's any comments. And yeah, eventually they did, and they print out and released it out in 1954 with a much more darker tone here. There are too many shadows, making the hair looks like a hair. There is no more face. So most of the note that is issued as the devil's face is more sought after. I would say a lot of people wants it, but the quantity is out there. There's a lot. It's moderately a lot, I would say. This note, it's not that the banana currency in the when the Japanese invaded Malaya and so forth, those currency was defunct after the Japanese surrendered, and a lot of it became like toilet paper. At that time, this money, or it's not a toilet paper. Obviously, it has its Canadian dollar value. It's just that the people who are religious don't wish to attempt to touch or have possession of the money with the devil's face. So that's why the bank have already taken the action, and they modify it to become much more darker tone without the face. Yeah. So this note this note is the $10. This note is the $10. Now I have the other one is the $20. So basically I already got two Devil's Head series with the same signature of the governor, the bank, and the bank governor and the deputy governor. So my latest edition was this one. Cost me about 88 ringgit, I would say. But plus postage and all, it will be probably less than 100 ringgit. It's about exactly 98 ringgit I spent on getting this note. I definitely, when I saw this, I gotta have it. So it took me a while to have a consideration: should I buy it? Since it's not in my priority list, should I get it? In the end, yeah, I got it. I need it, basically, because I want to at least have a Canadian series. Even it's not the modern one, at least this 1954 series I have from the $1 to $1,000 with the devil's face. At least I had completed one small part of Canadian series that I love. And the other series that I love about Canadian dollars is the older ones, printed in Bank of Canada. Is I like to call it the entire family portraits in the banknote. Each denomination has a portrait of the royal family. One of my favorite one would be Queen Mary of Teck. She looks very elegant. She looks proper. Lady on a money, I would say, on the money. she looks more proper, dressed, well mannered as a portrait compared to the others. I would say she, as the queen at that time, uh, she looks wonderful on the banknote, and it's one of my desire to have. And of course, there's another banknote of the Queen Elizabeth at that time when she was as Princess Elizabeth, the youngest portrait on the banknote of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth. She was when she was a kid. If I'm not mistaken, it's $10 denomination. Had her face as a princess. Then we had the king and etc. etc. Yes, his father's portrait, his uncle portrait was in the banknote. It was beautiful. I just really love that one, and I tend to remind myself I call it as the family royal family banknote. Yeah. But anyway, those are kind of expensive and out of reach for me at the moment, since I directed most of my currency, my capital, to Chinese banknotes at this moment in time. So when I on off, if I have extra, yeah, and in a very good range of price, then yeah, I'll just get it. Like this one, I got it for 88 ringgit. Condition wise, I would just say that the front is better than the back. The back is that it has some red ink paints around here and some stain of written word right here, which is 450. But I love this series, the back, especially the $10. You know, the landscape view of Canada, the natural landscape of Canada is being portrayed on this banknote 1954. One of it is this, the 20 I got. I couldn't find it. It's in my album. Similarities the same. They have a different landmarks that they put in, the natural landmarks. This one kind of remind me that Bob, the late Bob Ross should paint. It looks like he's painting. Bob Ross typically paints the mountains, the trees like this. And I really like his artwork, his landscape work, and this kind of reminds me about that. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Now, in typical fashion of Canadian dollars, they have two languages, of course. They have the French language and the English language. Now, if those of you who do not know about Canada, let me just be bluntly in a surface. There are two languages majority spoken in Canada. Number one is English, since their current is still governed with the head of state is currently the King Charles, King of Canada. I would just say like that. Is represented by its Governor General, of course, who is a Canadian, appointed and approved by His Majesty King Charles. And knowing that the current continuity link to the United Kingdom through royal family, predominantly most of it still speaks English as the main language. Now, there is a certain areas that defy this, and they kind of speak in their own language because they come from there, which is France. They speak French. They mostly live in the province of Quebec. If I'm not mistaken, correctly, if I say they live in Quebec, capital city, Montreal. And majority in that city, especially in Quebec and Montreal, they speak predominantly French. It's a totally different world in Canada. Once, especially in Toronto, you speak majority English, and that's how you go to Montreal, they speak French, but they're in the same country. Yeah, so they have two major identity in language and culture. One is the French and one is the English. So that is the reason why in the banknote they have dual language. You can see here it says $10. You see here it says $10. That is French. This is French, and then Banque du Canada, Bank of Canada, which is English and French. Two languages in the banknote. As you can see, they balance it out, 10 and Dix in French and in English. Same thing at the back, they have the bank in two languages and the denomination in two languages. The color wise of this banknote is very nice. Front side of the note, the stain virtually is not stained here, but you still can see the stain leaching through, but there is no stain on the surface. So the condition of the banknote was very brilliantly good. Only the back we have some stain and handwritten work quite severely, if I would say. There is one fold here, and I believe there is another another fold right here, but this fold probably is from the bank also, because this one here, in the middle right here, doesn't seem to go through all the way down. It's just hanging right here. When you look under the light and the light condition, you can just see here, but you can see the line in the middle of the fold. There's a main fold line here. So in condition wise, a very fine choice to extremely fine condition, I would say. It won't be at the middle of extremely fine or even a high point extremely fine choice kind of condition, but this is kind of a choice very fine condition. It probably will earn in that level, but I'm not going to send this to grade because grading do cost money. So to me, collecting Canadian dollars is not really like the top precious value that I want to achieve. So it's just part of my fun part to collect Canadian dollar at this moment of time. And whatever I find that is good price, I would say, I will buy it and store it and keep it in my album. So right now, this series, I have the $20. Now I got two, which is one is a 10 and one is a 20. Then probably I'm waiting my opportunity will be collecting the $5, the $1, the $50, and the $100, and then finally the $1,000. Now beyond collecting Canadian, I also do try to focus on my collection in the Russia. So those are the ones that I have some missing links. One banknote I don't have. I have almost all sets completed. Just left one more, which is the highest denomination, or they are one of the rarest ones that print out of those series. That makes it difficult to complete it. So those are the ones that probably will bump into my second priority or my third priority. I won't say first priority. First priority at the moment will be my effortless to find dealers and ask them, do they have Chinese banknotes? Do you have Republic of China banknotes? Because I am looking for those notes. Those initiatives, I put that at the first one. The second and third one is I do ask. If they don't have, never mind. And third one is I don't even ask. I just go through what they have, and if it's hit the pot, then I would look into it. If I don't hit anything on the spot while noodling, then I don't need to ask them. Asking them to entertain me. Do you have it? You have it? Are you selling it? If you're selling it, can I have a look? Those kind of initiatives would be part under the first or second priority. My third priorities won't be that. So yeah, there's not much things to talk about. It's a very short video, half an hour. That just want to say that I got a devil's head portrait for $10, which is very cheap. I won't be denying that. It's nothing rare or expensive. Anybody can find a devil's head, actually, to be honest. But it's just that it's one of those things that feels like controversial banknote. It has history. There's a hallmark in history of this type of note. A speculation of that time, intensively uh, uh, hurting, I would say, those fanatic Christians, make them uncomfortable and making them feel like they cannot touch or use this money. This at that time was brand new money, of course, and through their effort of complaint and so forth, the Bank of Canada and the government itself, at least the Ministry of Finance, I would say, decided to modify the hair of Her Majesty the Queen, Queen Elizabeth, now late Queen Elizabeth. Yeah, so that is the case that happened. So right now in my collection for this one, probably I'll be looking for the smaller denomination, which is much more cheaper. Can't say that also because the $5 and the $1, they're pretty much the same price at the market. One is the smaller denomination than the other. So you see, who knows? The $50 could be just $50. Who knows? Somebody might sell it without having studied the actual value of the appreciation of the price of the items. They are a normal civilian, and that is where you find gold. It's one of those ways you find extremely rare clothes accidentally, is that going through the mall that do second-hand selling, or collection like I always do every Sunday, to go to the flea market, talk to the dealers that I've known for so many months and years, any new notes, etc., etc., etc. It's a way of collecting, path. So yeah, I say thank you very much. That is all for today. I have some notes that I have worn, but due to the logistic issues and also due to how do I say, laws of the country that has been adapted into it, that a lot of those things had to go through their antique departments of antiquities of the country to make sure and verify that the items that has been sold and going out of the country, or they call it export out of the country, are not heritage items. So they are going through all this process. So last time, after I bid and after I paid, it would probably take about 1 to 2 weeks to arrive to my doorstep for those things that I've worn previously. But of course, right now, recently, starting this year, each time you win and after you pay, the duration will take 4 weeks, because it probably take 1 to 2 weeks at the department, and then they will mail it out another 2 months or 1 month, depends on how fast they do it, would arrive at a much longer period of time, because the extra obstacle is that the Department of Antiquities require to verify for export for old items. I would just say it in the rough way. So yeah, I have one that I'm very happy. It is similar to this note that actually I've won, and it has a lot of was very lucky, I would say. Won me a high profit since the time last year that I got the Federal Reserve note of the $50 star note in 1914. That note is still the only note I have in my collection. That is the most expensive note I have. So not any time soon that I can purchase any notes that are very expensive, but as a collector, you collect things that within your budget and make sure it is fun. And before I go, I would like to wish all Muslims across the world, my friends from Indonesia, from Southeast Asia, probably across the world too, I would like to extend a very happy celebration for the first day of Shawwal, and congratulations in completing your ritual of fasting during the holy month of Ramadan. And I wish you a very great day. Selamat Hari Raya, Selamat Hari Eid Mubarak. May you forgive your father and mother. Again, thank you very much. For those of you who like my content, do subscribe and like. If you have any comments or anything you want to ask me or so forth, do write in and I will respond as quickly as possible and as rational. If you got any comments that is kind of degrading and so forth, I tend to avoid comment it, and freedom of speech, say what you like, I would say in that way. And sometimes I do speak out of my mind, and sometimes it does feel hurtful. I apologize at the beginning, and I sincerely apologize if I have done any mistake. But sometimes being human, you speak out of your mind and out of your heart and not thinking about it properly processed. So I apologize in that. So again, in this video I write a little bit disclaimer that I do this for my personal diary, and I use YouTube as my storage, like a library, but on the other hand, I keep those diaries as an open book, so you can view it, so to encourage younger, more enthusiastic in collecting banknotes and looking at other variety of banknotes across the ages and the world. You may see the old banknotes or even the modern banknotes. You may see in the different countries, some of them from South America, Middle East, all the way to Japan. Those are the things that makes me very, very happy to do, and I will, it fulfills my my hobby. It does occupy my mind and my time, but in a good way, I would say. So I hope that if you encourage you to do collecting, you are collecting things that you love. Some people collect memorabilia, some people collect stamps, some people collect coins, some people collect trading cards, especially Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and Pokemon or Pocket Monster cards. Because not just because of its value, but it's the journey of processing, getting those items, getting the cards you want. Those fulfills your time and your soul. It calms you down, it makes you happy. It's a euphoria. So collecting is not just for investment, but it's also to make yourself happy. So there you have it. Thank you very much for your time this evening or morning or afternoon, and I hope to see you all real soon, and have a happy holiday. Selamat Hari Raya. Thank you and goodbye.